There are voodoo secrets that never reach documentaries. Secrets even most believers don't know. Most people assume that unless someone has their hair, their blood, or something deeply personal, no curse can touch them. But that isn't true. The most powerful voodoo dolls are made from self-portraits. And Bradley Clark learned that the hard way. Bradley Clark was a comic book writer, and not the humble kind. One afternoon at a crowded coffee shop, an elderly woman accidentally bumped his table, spilling his cappuccino across his lap. As he scrambled for napkins, she pulled something from her bag, one of his old comics. "I'm a fan of your work," she said softly. Bradley didn't look up. He'd been getting recognized a lot lately, and it irritated him. He waved her off and told her he was busy. She hesitated, still holding the comic out for him to sign. He sighed and looked up at her, annoyed. What could have been a simple autograph turned into something ugly. He mocked her beliefs, dismissed her, spoke with a cruelty that even surprised himself. It was unnecessary, and somewhere deep down, he knew that. The woman trembled. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. Bradley rolled his eyes. "What exactly are you going to do about it?" She leaned closer, her voice shaking but steady enough to carry. "You insult hoodooists and think nothing happens?" He laughed. "Voodoo isn't real." That's when she opened the comic and pointed to the protagonist. "You drew yourself into this story," she said. "You made a self-portrait." Bradley had. The main character of the series was him. A fictionalized version, but undeniably him. She smiled faintly. "I have everything I need." Then she walked out. Her name was Matilda Greaves, and she was very real. That night, Matilda powered on her laptop and recorded a video for her online hoodooist group. Calmly, methodically, she cut out 2 illustrations of Bradley from his own comic. A front profile from one issue, a back profile from another. She traced them onto canvas, stitched the edges together, and stuffed the inside with yarn. Within minutes, Bradley Clark existed in effigy, a small, stitched version of himself. Matilda looked into the camera. "He mocked us," she said quietly. "Let's teach him a lesson." Across the city, dozens of group members began making their own dolls. Matilda picked up her creation and forced its legs into a split. At that exact moment, Bradley collapsed in his apartment. His legs shot violently in opposite directions as he crashed onto the floor, muscles tearing under impossible tension. He screamed, confused, clutching at his hips. He tried to crawl, but his own foot snapped upward and struck his face. Again and again. "What is happening to me?" he cried. In her bedroom, Matilda felt a surge of power and whispered,
"Great. Climb on
"It
in here and
works."
put everything into the record
Then
system."
another hoodooist finished her doll, and something impossible began. Bradley felt himself shrinking. Not fading, not disappearing. Compressing. His body narrowed, then widened, as if invisible hands were reshaping him. He fell from his kitchen chair, clutching his
All
head
right.
as pressure
I've
built
set everything
behind
out
his
so you can
eyes.
just go ahead and get started.
When he looked up,
I'll
there
be
were 2
monitoring.
of him. Identical.
Everything's on your
half
list
the
there
size,
if you need it.
both breathing, both terrified. Then flesh streamed from both bodies, twisting and merging into a third. Another split, another form. The kitchen filled with smaller and smaller versions of Bradley Clark, each new copy born from the mass of the others, and each one suffering. One twisted violently until bone pierced skin. Another ignited without flame. One suffocated on dry air. Another spun so fast his neck snapped with a wet crack. The room filled with dozens of identical screams overlapping in chaos, and then the deaths began. One Bradley burned to ash. Another drowned without water. Several strangled themselves, faces turning deep purple. One collapsed inward, crushed into something barely human. The number of living Bradleys kept increasing as more dolls were completed across the city. But there was a secret most Voodooists didn't know.
There we go.
When the victim becomes smaller than the doll, the power reverses. When a person shrinks beyond the size of their effigy, they no longer suffer through it. They inhabit it. Canvas becomes muscle. Thread becomes tendon. Ink becomes sight. The curses stop working because the doll is no longer an object. It is alive. All across the city, small stitched Bradleys opened flat paper eyes. They waited. They waited until their hexers were distracted.
I can't hold anything else. I can't hold anything else.
Until they read quietly under warm lamps. Then they moved. Tiny fabric hands wrapped around knives, razors, scissors, anything sharp enough to matter. The original Bradley doll shuffled down a hallway toward a bathroom filled with steam. Matilda had just stepped out of the shower, drying her hair with a towel, unaware of the small stitched figure at her feet.